Hello everybody. So in this lesson, in this video, we're going to talk about angle relationships. In chapter 8, we're going to talk about the geometry part. So in the first lesson in chapter 8, in the geometry part is about angle relationships. In this lesson, we will learn about vertical angles, adjacent angles, complementary angles, and supplementary angles. So what does mean vertical angles? If we have the line, if we have two lines, for example, this line and this line, these two lines intersect each other. When the two lines intersect each other, it makes some angles. Let's say angle A, this is point A, B, this is C, D, and this is E. Okay, so now what does mean vertical angles? But first of all, how can we name the angles? For example, this one, this is A, B, C. How to name the angles? By saying A, B, C. We cannot say C, A, B. Why? Because there's no line between C and A. This is the angle. That means this angle. It's the space that we have between two rays. Okay? So, how can we name this house? Okay, let's say this angles by saying the first point on the line, which is A, B, C. You have to keep on the lines. Okay, keep going on the lines. So C, B, A, there is no line between A and C, so that's why we cannot say C, A, B. Okay, so vertical angles, the two angles that are opposite each other, they have different direction. For example, this angle, this is the angle, it is the opposite of this one. They have different direction. Okay, so that's why this angle, it's vertical with that angles. Okay, how to name this angle? A, B, D. So write A, B, D, this angle. And because this one, it is vertical, how? By which angle? C, B, E. C, B, E. Can we say E, C, B? No, it's not correct, because there's no line between E and C. E, B, C. E, B, C. Okay, this is the vertical angle. There is another vertical angles. We can say this one, it is vertical with that one, because they have different direction opposite each other. So we can say ABE, ABE, angle ABE, and angle CBD, CBD. Okay, this is the vertical angle. The two angles are opposite each other. For example, if the measure of this angle, it is 55 degree, what is the measure of that angles? It's 55 degree. Why? Because they are opposite each other. They are vertical angles. The vertical angles are equal always. If this one is 135 degree, what is the measure of this angle? Is 135 degree. Why? Because they are vertical. Okay, so this is the vertical angles. The adjacent angles, the two angles that are neighbors. Okay, there is a ray between them, or we can say there is a wall between the houses. So adjacents, we can change the name of the adjacent to neighbors. Okay, so let's say this angle, or we can say this house is next to that house. Okay, we can change the angles to the house. Let's say the 55 house, it is neighbored with 135 house. Okay, can we say 55 house is the neighbors with 55 house? No, they are opposite. They are not neighbors. Okay, so the two houses are next to each other. The red ones and with the blue ones are next to each other. We can say this house is next to that one. Okay, look at this one. This is like, imagine that this is a wall between these two halves. Okay, so how can we name this angle? By A B D. A B D. A B D. It's next to with this house, 135-degree house. A B A and E B A. Okay, this is the adjacent angles. The two angles are neighbors. Okay, so now let's study the complementary and supplementary angles. So this is the definition of the complementary angles. The two angles are complementary if the sum of their measure is 90 degrees. For example, complementary angles. The two angles are complementary angles if the sum of their measure of angles is 90 degrees. For example, if we have 90 degrees right angles, this is the right angle. So we know the right angles, the measure of the right angle is 90 degrees, right? If a line cuts the right angle like this, so let's say this is the x, we don't know, and this one is 50, let's say 55 degree. If the question say find the unknown angle, how can we find the unknown angle? By looking at this figure, we know this is the right angle. Why? Because it has the small square in the corner, right? So the sum of these two one, it must be 90 degree because this is 90. So that's why we can say 90, the sum of them is 90. 90 minus this one, 55. 0 minus 5, we cannot. 10, this is 8, 5, 3. So the measure of x angle is 35 degree. Okay, it's so easy. Whenever we have the right angle and is split into two angles, this is called complementary angles. Another example, let's say if we have this one, let's say it's a right angle, it's 15, and this one is K. Let's say K angle. How can we find the missing angle? We said this is a right angle, the sum of them is complementary, the sum of them is 90. So 90 minus 15, 10, because we cannot, 0 minus 5 is 5. This is 8, 8 minus is 7, so 75 degree. This is the complementary. Supplementary angle. The supplementary angles, the two angles are supplementary if the sum of them is equal to 180. Is a straight angles. If we have this straight angle, this is a straight angle, right? If a line, let's say, cuts the straight angles, now let's say the measure of this one is 138 degree. How can we find the missing angle? This one. Find the unknown angle. How? So it doesn't have any small square in the corner. So this is a straight line, and this line cuts as straight angles. So now the measure of the straight angle we know is 180. So to find the unknown angle, and if it does, we don't have the small square in the corner, that means it's equal to 180 is supplementary. So 180 minus 138, subtracted. We cannot. 0 minus 8, 10. This is 7. 10 minus 8 is 2. 7 minus 3 is 4, and 0. So the answer of this unknown angle is 42 degree. Okay, so this one is about vertical angles, adjacent angles, complementary and supplementary angles. So we say the vertical angles, the two angles are opposite each other. The adjacent angles, the two angles are neighbors, but it's very important to know how to write these ones, the angles, how to name. First one, define, identify which angles are vertical. Let's say the red ones, the blue ones are vertical angles. So then you can name these angles. Okay. Complementary angles and supplementary. Complementary if we have the right angles, and to find the missing angle in complementary, we have the right angle is 90 degrees. So 90 minus 55 is 35. For supplementary, we have the straight angle. The measure of the straight angle is 180 minus 42 and minus 138 is 42.